A woman abandoned her disabled daughter and disappeared. 20 years later, the woman was completely shocked by what happened in court. In a small clinic in Monterey, the air was filled with a mixture of anticipation and nervousness. Amelia, exhausted after hours of labor, finally heard the sharp cry of her baby breaking the silence. The doctor, with a tired smile, gently wrapped the newborn in a blanket and presented her to Amelia. "Congratulations, it's a girl." Carlos, the father, approached anxiously, trying to see his daughter for the first time. He lightly touched Amelia's arm, seeking to share the joy of this moment. "What does she look like, Amelia?" he asked, looking from his wife to the baby. Amelia accepted the baby into her arms, her gaze fixed and indecipherable. What should have been? A moment of pure happiness quickly became overshadowed by a hint of disappointment. "She is very small, Carlos. Something doesn't seem right," Amelia murmured, her voice trembling slightly as she observed her daughter. Carlos, confused, looked closer. "She is perfect, Amelia. It's normal for babies to be small," he tried to reassure her, but the expression on his face showed that he was beginning to perceive Amelia's concern. "Let's ask the doctor. He will know." The doctor, noticing the couple's tension, approached them again, calmly explaining that the baby appeared to show signs of dwarfism. "We will run some more tests, but she is healthy, which is the most important thing right now," he said, trying to be as comforting as possible. The doctor approached the couple and said, "Carlos, Amelia, Chloe has dwarfism," he began, choosing his words carefully to inform without alarming them. Dwarfism is a condition that results in a significantly below average height. There are different types, but most people with dwarfism have normal body proportions. Amelia, trying to absorb the information, looked at the doctor with a confused expression. "But what does that mean for her future? Will she have a normal life?" she asked, her voice laden with worry. The doctor nodded, offering an encouraging smile. "Many people with dwarfism lead completely normal and healthy lives. Of course, there are special considerations in terms of health and accessibility that we will need to monitor as she grows, such as the possibility of orthopedic issues. However, with proper medical care, most of these issues can be managed effectively. You don't need to worry." Amelia, still holding Chloe, felt a wave of conflicting emotions. The idea of raising a daughter with special needs frightened her. She looked at Carlos, seeking some comfort, but the words that came out were of uncertainty. "Carlos, I don't know if I'm ready for this. I don't know if I can do it," she confessed, tears beginning to form in her eyes. Carlos, with an expression of support mixed with his own worry, held her hand. "We are in this together, Amelia. We will figure out how to make this work. She is our daughter." Amelia's anguish, however, seemed only to grow with each word of encouragement from Carlos. Inside her, an internal struggle began between the maternal love that was starting to blossom and the overwhelming fear of the unknown. Months passed, and one quiet afternoon in Monterey, Carlos and Amelia discussed the tension that was building within their home. Carlos looked at his wife with a mix of confusion and frustration. "Amelia, she is our daughter. We can't hide her at home as if there's something wrong with her." Amelia, arms crossed, looked outside, avoiding her husband's gaze. Her voice was firm, a tone she used when she did not want to be contradicted. "I just don't feel comfortable with it, Carlos. People will stare, they will talk. I don't want us to be seen as the family that has a different child." Carlos stepped forward, trying to reach Amelia's hand, which she instinctively withdrew. "So what if people think, Amelia? Chloe needs the sun. She needs to see the world, interact with other children. She did nothing wrong to deserve being hidden. She won't understand, not now, and I will not change my mind about this. I am not ready to deal with the looks and whispers," Amelia replied, her voice rising slightly. "It's easy for you to say to ignore it, but I am the one who will be looked down upon." Carlos sighed, feeling the frustration grow inside him. "Amelia, one day she will realize that we kept her hidden. How do you think she will feel knowing that her own mother was ashamed of her? That is unfair to Chloe. She deserves more from us." The impasse extended, with each word increasing the distance between them. Amelia stood her ground, and Carlos, desolate, began to resign himself to the role of the sole protector of his daughter outside the four walls of their home. "If you don't want to accompany her, I will take her," he finally said, the decision weighing in his voice. I will take her to the doctors, to the parks. She will know the world, even if I have to present it to her alone. The conversation ended with an uncomfortable silence. Carlos picked up little Chloe, who was playing quietly on the floor, oblivious to the heartache of the adults above her. With a kiss on her forehead, he silently promised to make her feel loved and valued, regardless of her mother's insecurities. Amelia, watching from a distance, felt torn by emotions she could not reconcile, while the sound of Carlos and Chloe's footsteps moving away echoed painfully in her heart. On a cold night in Monterey, Chloe was already asleep, and the silence that hung was the beginning of an emotional storm approaching. Amelia was sitting on the sofa, her trembling hands holding a cup of coffee that had already gone cold. Carlos, noticing the tension in her shoulders, slowly approached. Amelia, you are very quiet today. Is everything all right? Carlos asked, his voice full of concern, sitting next to her on the sofa. She let out a long sigh, placing the cup on the table before turning to face him. Carlos, I have been thinking a lot about our life, about everything we are going through. Her voice faltered a bit, the weight of her words hanging heavily in the air. What is going through your mind? Carlos asked, trying to hide the knot of worry that was beginning to form in his stomach. Amelia hesitated, but the decision that had been brewing in her mind was like a flame that could not be extinguished. I can't do this anymore, Carlos. I can't keep living like this, hiding, feeling ashamed of our daughter. I need more from life. I need something different. The words came out harsher than she intended, but the sincerity in them was palpable. Carlos felt as if a bucket of cold water had been thrown in his face. He looked at Amelia, stunned, her words cutting deeper than any knife could. Amelia, are you talking about leaving Chloe, us? The incredulity in his voice was evident, mixed with a growing pain. I am suffocating here, Carlos. I am not happy, and it's not fair for Chloe to have a mother who feels this way. Amelia stood up, beginning to pace back and forth, her agitation growing with each step. I need a change, and I think it's better for everyone if I leave. The discussion that followed was long and torturous. Carlos tried to understand, tried to find a way to keep the family together, but Amelia was resolute. She spoke of her own needs, of her right to happiness, arguments that Carlos understood, but that cut his heart in half. He knew deep down that Amelia's decision was already made, and no words he could say would change her mind. Finally, with tears in his eyes and an indescribable weight in his heart, Carlos slowly nodded. If this is what you need to be happy, Amelia, I will not stop you. But Chloe, she will always ask for you. The words came out low, each one an admission of his own pain and defeat. Amelia, with tears streaming down her face, but with a firm resolve, only nodded, knowing that, from that moment on, everyone's lives would change. The decision was made, and there was no turning back. That night would mark the end of their first marriage, leaving behind her daughter and the man she still loved, in search of a new beginning that she hoped would finally lead to the happiness she so desired. Amelia married again, this time to a wealthy man always aspiring to great things in her life, and finally achieving her goals. Meanwhile, Carlos continued to take care of Chloe. He did not remarry, living only for his daughter. The little girl was now 7 years old, and every day he marveled at her strength and determination. Despite her dwarfism, Chloe grew up happy, facing the world with insatiable curiosity, largely thanks to the unconditional support and love that Carlos always made sure to give her. On a sunny Saturday afternoon, Carlos and Chloe were at the park. Sitting on a bench, they watched the other children playing. Chloe looked at the children running and then at her own short legs. "Daddy, do you think I can run as fast as they do one day?" she asked, a trace of doubt in her sweet voice. Carlos turned to her, smiling tenderly. "Chloe, you may not run as fast as some of those children, but you have other amazing skills. Remember when you won that drawing contest at school? Everyone has their unique talents, my dear," he said, encouraging her. Chloe smiled, remembering the day her drawing was chosen as the best in the class. "It's true, Daddy. I'm good with colors," she replied, getting excited. "And you always say that the most important thing is to try, right?" "Exactly," Carlos affirmed, giving her a high five. "Always do your best, no matter what, That's what really counts, and know that I will always be here to support and help you no matter what happens. On another occasion, while preparing for Chloe's medical appointment, Carlos noticed that she was a little anxious. "Daddy, what if the other doctors are like the one who wasn't nice to me?" Chloe questioned, remembering a previous, less pleasant experience. Carlos knelt to be at Chloe's level, looking into her eyes with gentle seriousness. "Chloe, I will be with you every step of the way. If anyone does not treat you with the respect you deserve, they will have to deal with me," he said, making a funny face that made Chloe laugh. "Never be afraid to say how you feel or to ask for help. You are strong and brave, and I am so proud of you." These conversations between Carlos and Chloe were not just moments of teaching, but also bonds of love and trust that strengthened with each word of encouragement and each gesture of support. Carlos knew that the path would not be easy for Chloe, but he was determined to do everything in his power to ensure that his daughter had all the opportunities to shine, loving her exactly as she was. Chloe grew up and was now 22 years old. She carefully adjusted her blazer before entering the imposing building that housed Lily Baker's company. She took a deep breath, remembering her father's encouraging words. She was there to compete for a position in the graphic design department and was determined to show her worth. It did not take long for Lily Baker to appear. She was an imposing figure with a presence that filled the room. "Chloe Clark," Lily called with a quick and evaluative look. "Yes, that's me. Nice to meet you, Miss Baker." Chloe extended her hand, which Lily briefly shook. "Let's go to my office. Tell me more about your experience with graphic design," said Lily, leading the way to a modern and well-lit office. Chloe followed her, trying not to be intimidated by Lily's critical gaze. Sitting face to face, Lily began to browse through Chloe's portfolio. "I see that you have a good eye for colors and composition, but tell me, how do you handle tight deadlines and criticism?" Her voice was direct, almost challenging. Chloe, keeping her calm, replied, "I believe that constructive feedback is essential for personal and professional growth. As for deadlines, I organize myself and prioritize tasks to ensure that everything is delivered on time." Lily seemed slightly impressed, but her expression was still unreadable. "And what about teamwork?" "This position requires a lot of collaboration. Working in a team is one of my strengths," Chloe explained. "I believe that the best ideas come from collaboration and sharing different perspectives." The interview continued with more technical questions and some scenario simulations. Chloe strove to show her ability and adaptability, despite feeling the weight of Lily's judgment. Finally, Lily closed the portfolio and looked Chloe directly in the eyes. "Well, Chloe, you definitely have talent. You can start working. You're hired." Chloe thanked her and left the office with a mixture of relief and anxiety. She had given her best, but she knew that the final decision was in Lily's hands. As she walked out of the building, she felt proud of having faced one of the biggest challenges of her career so far. Lily Baker was an imposing figure at the headquarters of her company in Monterey. As a manager, she was known for her authoritarian stance and quick decisions, which propelled the company to achieve its ambitious goals. However, this efficiency came at a cost. Lily had a reputation for being extremely demanding and often arrogant with her employees, expecting a dedication that frequently exceeded reasonable limits. In a typical team meeting, Lily looked coldly at the reports in front of her. "These numbers are unacceptable," she began, her voice filled with disdain. "You have more than enough resources to achieve the goals we set. If you can't do that, maybe I need to find people who can." Her subordinates lowered their heads, avoiding her incisive gaze. In her office, it was common to hear Lily on the phone, speaking curtly with suppliers and partners. "I'm not interested in excuses, only in results. If you cannot provide what you promised, I will find someone who can," she said, without a hint of patience or understanding for others' circumstances. For Lily, business was a battlefield, and she did not tolerate weaknesses. The company's employees often shared stories of her disdainful behavior. On one occasion, a young assistant made a minor mistake in a presentation. Lily scolded her in front of the entire team. "This mistake is childish. If you want to act like a child, maybe this is not the place for you." Public humiliation was a common tactic in her management arsenal. Despite her effectiveness in driving the company to record profits, the work environment under her leadership was tense and feared. Conversations in the corridors were often whispers about the fear of being the next target of her wrath. The employees said she was relentless, and that working with her was like walking through a minefield. However, it was not only with subordinates that Lily maintained this rigid stance. Even in meetings with other executives or potential investors, she maintained an air of superiority that often bordered on arrogance. "If you are not ready to invest at the level my company deserves, then I suggest you look for smaller opportunities that match your limited aspirations," she said in a meeting, dismissing a group of hesitant investors with a disdainful wave of her hand. Lily was undoubtedly an effective leader in terms of financial results, but her leadership style left a trail of resentment and dissatisfaction. For her, the ends always justified the means, and this philosophy was reflected not only in how she ran her company, but also in how she treated everyone around her. On a sunny afternoon at the luxurious residence in Monterey, Lily Baker and her mother Amelia enjoyed a moment of tranquility in the elegant garden of the house. Both were dressed in designer clothes that complemented their impeccable style. While enjoying herbal tea, the conversation flowed smoothly, marked by laughter and comments on recent social events. Amelia had married Lily's father after her divorce from Carlos. Her second husband was a great businessman and traveled internationally a lot. Their daughter spent more time with her mother, and she cherished the company of the young woman of 20 years. Amelia observed Lily with admiration as she described her latest achievements at the company. "Lily, dear, you have no idea how proud I am of you. Everything you do is so perfect. You are the daughter I always dreamed of having," said Amelia, her smile radiating pride. Lily used to compliment, smiled gracefully, and thanked her. "Thank you, Mother. I know I have great responsibility seeing everything Father built." "I'm just trying to carry our legacy forward," she replied, gently touching Amelia's hand. Amelia continued, each word laden with genuine admiration. "And it's not just at work, Lily. Your elegance, your way of dressing, of speaking, everything about you is so refined. Sometimes I can't believe how lucky I am to have a daughter like you." Lily tilted her head, accepting the praise. "It's all thanks to you, Mother. You taught me about fashion, about how to be a real woman in the business world." "Everything I am, I owe to your lessons," she said, reinforcing the bond between them. As they conversed, Amelia began to recall events and parties they had attended together, highlighting how Lily always captured everyone's attention. "I remember the last charity event we attended. You were stunning in that red dress, and everyone wanted to know who the beautiful young woman by my side was. It was such a special moment for me," Amelia commented, her gaze distant as she relived the memory. The conversation between mother and daughter reflected the depth of their relationship, based on mutual admiration and shared values of success and personal presentation. To Amelia, Lily was more than just a daughter. She was a symbol of everything Amelia valued and aspired to be. Meanwhile, Chloe was focused on her computer, working on a graphic design project. When Lily Baker entered the room with an air of authority that left a trail of tension, the murmured conversation ceased as all eyes turned to her. Chloe, sensing the change in atmosphere, braced herself for what was to come. "Chloe, please come here. We need to discuss your latest project," Lily called out loudly. Ensuring everyone heard, Chloe approached, holding the printout of the design she had created. She noticed Lily's critical gaze as she neared. "Is this what you call acceptable work?" Lily held the design at eye level, then looked at Chloe, pausing dramatically before continuing. "Maybe I should have expected this level of work from someone who has to strive to achieve the minimum here," she said, her voice laced with double meaning, insinuating Chloe's stature. Chloe felt her face flush with humiliation, but the anger growing inside her was stronger than the shame. "Miss Baker, my work should be evaluated based on its quality, not comments about my height. This is unacceptable," Chloe replied, her voice firm despite the tremor of emotion. Lily laughed derisively, looking around to see if others shared her amusement. "Oh, please, Chloe, don't be so sensitive. I'm just joking. But seriously, you need to understand that this place has standards. Maybe someone of your condition would find it difficult to meet them." Chloe looked around, seeing the discomfort on her colleagues' faces as they avoided her gaze. "This is not a joke, it is discrimination," Chloe declared, feeling increasingly determined. "I will not accept this, and it should not be expected that any of us do. I will fight for my rights and ensure that no one else has to endure this kind of treatment." Lily shrugged, arrogance emanating from her. "Do what you think is best, Chloe, but remember, this is my world, and people here play by my rules," she said, turning her back on Chloe and leaving the room, her heavy silence hanging in the air. Chloe, trembling with anger and determination, returned to her desk. She knew what she needed to do. Although confronting Lily might have consequences, she would not let fear stop her. That humiliation was not just a personal attack, it was a sign that something much bigger needed to change in the company's culture. Lily Baker arrived home, still seething with anger after the confrontation with Chloe at the office. Upon entering, she threw her keys onto the entry table with enough force to make a noise that echoed through the spacious living room. Her mother, Amelia, was sitting on a luxurious sofa, flipping through a fashion magazine. "Mom, you won't believe what happened at the office today," Lily began, her tone laden with indignation and frustration. Amelia set the magazine aside, her expression immediately concerned with her daughter's state. "That employee, the short one, decided she could stand up to me. Can you believe it? She accused me of discrimination just because I made a comment about her work." Lily paced back and forth, clearly disturbed by the memory of the event. Amelia laughed lightly, trying to downplay the situation. "Oh dear, she's just an employee and you are the owner of the company. Sometimes these people forget their place. Don't worry about it." Lily stopped pacing and looked at her mother, seeking some comfort in her words. "I know, Mom, but what if she decides to take it further? What if she makes a formal complaint? It could tarnish the company's reputation." Amelia stood up, approaching Lily with a reassuring smile. "Lily, we are one of the richest and most powerful families in Monterey. We won't let a small complaint from any employee affect us. You have the best lawyers at your disposal, and I'm here. Nothing will happen." Lily, still not fully convinced but slightly relieved by her mother's words, nodded slowly. "You are right, Mom. I shouldn't worry about this. It is just an empty threat." Amelia, seeing her daughter beginning to calm down, embraced her. "That's right, dear. We are strong, and we won't let anything or anyone bring us down. Forget this story and focus on what really matters, your success and that of the company." Lily took a deep breath, allowing her mother's confidence to envelop her. "Thank you, Mom. I don't know what I would do without you." With Amelia's unconditional support, Lily felt ready to face any challenge that came her way, reaffirming her belief that her position and power would protect her from any repercussions. When Chloe arrived home that night, she found her father, Carlos, preparing dinner in the kitchen. He immediately noticed Chloe's somber expression as she walked through the door. "Chloe, what happened? You look worried," Carlos said, turning off the stove and giving his full attention to his daughter. Taking a deep breath, Chloe began to recount everything that happened at work, from Lily's derogatory comments to the confrontation that followed. "Dad, she called me shorty in front of everyone. It was humiliating, and I told her that it was discrimination and that I would fight for my rights." Carlos listened attentively, his face hardening with each word. Chloe said. When she finished, he was visibly upset, but his voice remained calm and firm. "Chloe, you did the right thing. No one has the right to treat you that way, no matter who they are. You have my full support to seek justice. But Dad, what if it makes things worse for me? What if I can't find another job?" Chloe expressed her concerns, the fear of retaliation shining in her eyes. Carlos approached, placing his hands on Chloe's shoulders and looking directly into her eyes. "You are standing up for your rights, my dear. Remember, I will always be here to support you, no matter what happens." Encouraged by her father's words, Chloe felt a new wave of determination flow through her. "You are right, Dad. I can't let this go. I will speak to a lawyer tomorrow and see what my options are." Carlos nodded, proud of his daughter's courage. "That's right, Chloe. We will do whatever it takes. I will be by your side every step of the way." Together, father and daughter shared a moment of unity and resolve, ready to face any challenge that lay ahead. As they turned their attention to dinner, the conversation shifted to planning their next steps, further strengthening their alliance in the pursuit of justice. The day of the trial arrived, and the courtroom atmosphere was thick with the tension of the imminent legal confrontation. Amelia and Lily Baker arrived together, both impeccably dressed, reflecting the seriousness of the day. On the other hand, Carlos accompanied Chloe, whose determined posture contrasted with the vulnerability imposed by the situation. As they entered the courtroom, Carlos and Amelia exchanged a glance that carried years of untold stories and complicated feelings. Amelia felt a pang in her chest upon seeing Carlos after so many years. His presence brought back memories she had tried to bury. Her gaze, however, was inevitably drawn to Chloe. Now a young woman facing challenges Amelia never had the courage to support her through. Remorse began to settle in her heart as she watched Chloe, recognizing the traits she once wished to forget. Lily noticed her mother's distraction and leaned in to whisper, "Mom, are you okay? You look a bit pale." Amelia forced a smile and quickly replied, "It's all right, dear. I'm just a bit anxious about this whole process." As the judge called the session to order, Amelia wrestled with her internal thoughts. She began reflecting on all the choices, thinking, "No one knows about my first daughter, and even less that she has dwarfism." Amelia felt the weight of her secret like a stone in her stomach. As the proceedings advanced, Amelia found herself lost in a sea of regret and questioning. How could I let things come to this point? How could I abandon my own daughter? The internal battle was almost unbearable. She looked at Chloe, seeing in her the strength and resilience she lacked in herself, and questioned the love and protection she owed her from the beginning. The trial continued, but for Amelia, the real reflection had only just begun, marking the start of a new journey in her life. In the courtroom, the atmosphere was charged with expectation as the defense and prosecution attorneys prepared to present their arguments. Chloe's attorney began by detailing the various instances where Lily had directed derogatory and discriminatory comments at Chloe, citing specific dates and witnesses who confirmed the improper conduct. Lily's attorneys tried to minimize the damage, claiming misunderstandings and a lack of concrete evidence for the discrimination allegations. They portrayed Lily as a strict but fair leader who might have been misinterpreted by Chloe and other employees. However, the words rang hollow for Amelia, who knew her daughter's true nature. Internally, Amelia began to question her own choices. How could I not see the kind of person Lily has become? How could I have failed so deeply with Chloe, not just by abandoning her, but also by ignoring the difficulties she faced because of me? The guilt consumed her, with each word from Chloe's attorney unearthing more remorse from her conscience. Amelia reflected on the contrast between her two daughters. Chloe, despite all the obstacles and rejections, showed admirable resilience and dignity. Lily, blessed with all the privileges and support, chose a path of arrogance and disdain for others. Could the luxury and wealth Lily had deprived her of the ability to empathize and show compassion? Amelia pondered. Amelia looked at her eldest daughter thinking, Chloe is so brave facing injustices that should never have been part of her life. I abandoned this child, left her to face the world without a mother's love and support, and now I see the incredible woman she has become, despite my absence. The tension in the courtroom had reached its peak when the judge finally returned to the room after a long period of deliberation. The judge began to speak. After careful consideration of the evidence presented and the testimonies heard, this court concludes that the defendant, Lily Baker, acted in a discriminatory manner against the plaintiff, Chloe Clark, based on her disability. Therefore, it is ordered that the defendant pay compensation for moral damages to the plaintiff. The silence that followed was palpable. Lily was stunned, unable to believe what she had just heard. She turned to her mother, her face a mask of incredulity and fear. "Mom, what are we going to do? This will ruin the company's reputation, my reputation." Amelia, struggling to find the right words, could only whisper, "We will sort this out, dear. We will talk to the lawyers, see what can be done." On Chloe's side, Carlos whispered, "You did the right thing, Chloe. I am so proud of you." Chloe, with tears in her eyes, only nodded, feeling a complex mix of relief and sadness. She knew this victory was not just hers, but for all those who had been underestimated and mistreated as she had been. After the verdict in court, Lily and Amelia Baker returned to their luxurious home, the silence between them almost palpable. Lily paced back and forth in the spacious living room. "I don't really care about this compensation," said Lily, breaking the silence with a voice filled with disdain. "It's just money. What really bothers me is how this will affect my image and the company's image." Amelia, who had spent the entire trial reflecting on her own failures as a mother and the consequences of her actions, looked at Lily with a serious expression. "Lily, maybe it's time for you to think less about image and more about what is right. You should go apologize to Chloe." Lily stopped, turning to face her mother with an expression of shock and disbelief. "Apologize to that shorty, Mum. You can't be serious. She's just an employee, and I am the director of the company. That would be lowering myself too much." Amelia sighed, the sadness and regret still weighing heavily on her heart. "Lily, it's not about lowering yourself. It's about respect. Chloe is a person, and what you did was wrong. She deserves to be treated with dignity, regardless of her physical condition." Lily crossed her arms, her expression hardening even more. "Mum, you're being ridiculous. This is just political correctness gone mad. I am the victim here, being penalized for being a firm leader." Amelia observed Lily, realizing how much her daughter still had to learn. She wanted to believe that Lily would change, but her daughter's arrogant words and inflexible attitude only reinforced her doubts. "Lily, I hope you will understand the gravity of your actions and their impact on the people around you one day. It's not just about being a leader, but about how you lead and the respect you show for others." Frustrated and unable to grasp her mother's perspective, Lily left the room, leaving Amelia alone with her thoughts. Amelia felt increasingly convinced that in some way she needed to continue influencing her daughter, hoping that eventually Lily would recognize the importance of treating everyone with equality and respect. The night was long and restless for Amelia. She tossed and turned in bed, unable to find a comfortable position, each thought about the trial and her own past choices tormenting her like ghosts in the dark. The image of Chloe in court, firm and dignified, contrasted sharply with Lily's disdainful attitude, and the difference between her two daughters weighed heavily on her heart. Every time she closed her eyes, Amelia saw Chloe looking at her with a mix of strength and vulnerability. The judge's harsh words echoed in her mind, and the look of pain in Chloe's eyes during the trial resonated in her conscience. It was not just remorse, it was a deep understanding that she had failed her daughter in a way that words could hardly express. Before dawn, Amelia made a decision. She could no longer live with this weight. She got up, dressed quickly, and without breakfast, drove to Carlos's house. During the drive, her heart raced and her mind rehearsed what she would say. She knew that words would be insufficient, but she had to start somewhere. Arriving at Carlos's house, Amelia parked the car and took several deep breaths before getting out. The day had barely broken, and the morning quiet was almost palpable. She walked up to the front door and with trembling hands rang the doorbell. Carlos opened the door after a few seconds that seemed like an eternity to Amelia. His face expressed surprise and caution at seeing her. "Amelia, what are you doing here at this hour?" His voice was careful, almost as if he feared that her mere presence could trigger old conflicts. "I'm sorry to come so early, Carlos, but I needed to talk to you. To Chloe, I need to apologize," Amelia began, her voice faltering as she struggled to maintain composure. The words seemed inadequate, but it was all she had. Carlos, still in shock from the unexpected visit, stepped back, allowing her to enter. His expression was a mix of incredulity and cautious hope, perhaps curious to see how far this new revelation from Amelia might lead. Amelia, with teary eyes and a trembling voice, faced Carlos and pleaded in an almost desperate tone. "Please, Carlos, I need to talk to Chloe. I need to try to make things right, even if it's just a little." Carlos, however, remained firm, his gaze reflecting a mixture of protection and apprehension. "Amelia, I don't think it's a good idea right now. Chloe is very shaken by everything that happened. She needs space." Before Amelia could insist further, the sound of soft footsteps came from the hallway. Chloe appeared at the entrance to the living room, surprised and cautious to see her mother there. "What are you doing here?" Her voice carried a mix of curiosity and resentment as her eyes studied Amelia, trying to understand her intentions. Amelia attempted to step closer to Chloe, her words stumbling over one another. "Chloe, I saw you in court. I realized how much I messed up, how much I abandoned you. I'm here because I need you to know that I'm truly sorry for everything." Chloe listened, her expression shifting gradually from impassiveness to a mask of pain and anger. "You did see me, yes. You recognized your own daughter and still chose to pretend. You saw the daughter you abandoned facing the world alone. How dare you come here now and ask for forgiveness?" Chloe's words were sharp, each one loaded with years of repressed pain. "I'm truly sorry, Chloe. I know apologies can't change the past, but I'm here, ready to face the consequences and do whatever I can to support you from now on." Amelia pleaded, tears now streaming freely down her face. Chloe shook her head, the decision clear in her eyes. "No, I do not accept your apologies. You can't just show up and expect everything to be okay. Please leave." Her voice was firm, leaving no room for arguments. Defeated and heartbroken, Amelia nodded slowly. She gave one last look at Chloe, memorizing the image of her strong and determined daughter before turning and leaving the house. As she walked back to her car, tears blurred her vision, each step heavy with the weight of her choices and the lost love that now seemed irretrievable. Amelia arrived home still shaken, silent tears staining her face as she tried to compose herself. Lily, who was in the living room flipping through a magazine, looked up as she heard the door close more forcefully than usual. She immediately noticed her mother's emotional state. "Why are you crying? What happened?" Lily asked, a hint of concern in her voice, though she maintained an emotional distance, more curious about the incident than genuinely worried about Amelia's well-being. Amelia wiped the tears with the back of her hand before responding. "I went to apologize to Chloe," she said, her voice still trembling from the emotion of the encounter. Lily frowned, clearly confused and somewhat irritated. "Why would you do that? That shorty doesn't deserve anything from us, especially after all she caused." The derogatory word slipped from her mouth with disdain, as if it was something trivial. Amelia felt a wave of indignation hearing Lily refer to Chloe in that manner. She turned, facing Lily with a firmness she rarely displayed. "Don't speak of my daughter that way. Chloe is your sister and deserves respect. I should have done this a long time ago. Apologizing was the right thing to do, and it's time for you to start understanding that." Lily recoiled, shocked not only by the revelation but also by her mother's reprimand. "My sister, how is that possible? You never mentioned." Her words trailed off, the shock and confusion on her face reflecting the magnitude of the revelation. "Yes, she is your sister, and I abandoned her when she needed me most." Amelia continued, the words painful but necessary. "I made many mistakes, Lily, but ignoring what Chloe went through because of my choices won't be another one of them. It's time for us to change, for you to learn to respect people regardless of their differences." Lily remained silent, processing the news. The tension between mother and daughter was palpable, each grappling with their own revelations and how this would change the dynamics of their lives from that moment forward. Lily stared at Amelia, her face contorted in a mix of disbelief and anger. "I can't believe you're saying this. How can this be true? How could you never have talked about it before?" Lily demanded, her voice raised in challenge and confusion. Amelia, summoning all her courage, responded with forced calm, trying to keep the situation as controlled as possible. "Chloe is the result of my first marriage with Carlos. I abandoned her when she was a child out of shame for her condition." Lily, still in shock from the revelation, let slip a venomous question reflecting her distorted and prejudiced view. "How could you bring a being like that into the world?" The words came out laden with disdain, revealing not just her surprise but also her deep-seated prejudice. Amelia felt as if she had been physically struck by her daughter's words. "Lily, that being, as you say, is my daughter, your sister. She is a human being with just as much right to be in this world as you. I am ashamed and saddened to see that you think this way." Amelia's response made Lily hesitate for a moment, the reality of her own words and their impact beginning to sink in. She looked at her mother, searching for any sign of flaw or exaggeration, but found only a sad determination in Amelia's eyes. "Lily, I see now how much I have failed you in not teaching you to respect and value all human beings regardless of their differences," Amelia continued, her voice choked with emotion. "But it is not too late to change. I hope you reflect on your words and the kind of person you want to be." Lily remained silent, her mother's words echoing in her mind. The revelation of a sister she had never known she had, and her reaction to it began to trigger a deep introspection. Meanwhile, Carlos called his daughter to talk. "Chloe, I know what your mother did was painful, and I understand your anger," Carlos began, choosing his words carefully. "But I think you were very harsh with her. Amelia was very young and immature when everything happened. We all make mistakes and everyone deserves a chance at redemption." Chloe looked at her father, a mix of frustration and confusion in her eyes. "Dad, how can I just forgive someone who abandoned me? How can I trust her again?" Her voice trembled slightly, revealing the depth of her pain. Carlos approached and sat beside her, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. "Forgiving doesn't mean forgetting, Chloe. It means letting go of the anger that can poison you from within. Your mother made a mistake, yes, but she is also carrying the weight of those mistakes. Giving her a second chance might be more for you than for her." Chloe took a deep breath, pondering her father's words. After a few minutes of silence, Carlos picked up his phone and dialed Amelia's number. When she answered, her voice was cautious but hopeful. "Amelia, it's Carlos. Chloe has been thinking about everything that happened, and she has decided she wants to try to talk again. Can we arrange a meeting in a neutral place, perhaps a restaurant?" Amelia, on the other end of the line, felt a mix of relief and anxiety. "Of course, Carlos, that would be great. I really want to try to make things right this time." In a cozy, dimly lit restaurant with an atmosphere that favored intimate conversations, Chloe and Amelia sat facing each other, both clearly nervous but open to dialogue. Chloe took the initiative, breathing deeply before speaking. "Mom, I've thought a lot about what Dad said. I understand that you were young and had your own fears and uncertainties. I am willing to try to understand and forgive," she said, her words carefully chosen to avoid reopening old wounds. Amelia felt a tightness in her chest upon hearing Chloe. "Thank you, Chloe. Not a day goes by that I don't regret the choices I made. I really want to do everything differently now. I want to be a part of your life if you will allow me," Amelia said, her voice choked with emotion. Seizing the moment of openness, Amelia continued, "Actually, there is a party tonight, a gathering with some old friends and new business partners. I would really like you to accompany me, Chloe. It would be a way for us to start rebuilding our relationship, and I would love to introduce you to everyone as my daughter." Chloe hesitated, the surprise evident on her face. The idea of jumping so quickly into a social event with Amelia was intimidating, but something inside her was curious to see this new side of her mother, the side that wanted to make things right. "All right, I'll go. It will be interesting," Chloe agreed, a mix of caution and curiosity in her voice. Both women smiled, a shared sense of relief filling the space between them. It was just a small step towards healing, but a significant one. The party was in full swing with the buzz of animated conversations and soft music in the background when Amelia decided it was the right moment to make her announcement. She gently approached the microphone and said, "Good evening, everyone." Amelia began, her voice steady despite the evident nervousness. "I would like to take this opportunity to share something very personal with you all, something that has been a part of my life for many years, but that few of you know about." The room fell silent, all eyes turning to her, curious and attentive. She continued, "Many years ago, I had a daughter in my first marriage. Due to life circumstances and choices I made, we ended up being separated. But despite everything, she grew up to be an incredibly strong and resilient woman. I am very proud of the woman she has become." Amelia's expression was one of admiration and respect, and a genuine emotion shone through her words. "Chloe, please come here with me," Amelia called, extending her hand toward Chloe, who was sitting discreetly at a nearby table. Chloe stood up, her heart pounding as she walked to the stage under the surprised and curious gazes of the guests. When Chloe joined Amelia on the stage, there was a murmur of surprise and some shocked expressions among the guests. Amelia looked at Chloe, her eyes shining with emotion. This is Chloe, my daughter. She is a person of incredible strength and courage, someone who has faced challenges many of us could never imagine, and I couldn't be more proud of her. Amelia then turned to face Chloe directly, holding her hands. I love you, Chloe, and I want everyone to know how wonderful you are. The room erupted in applause, a warm sound of support and admiration filling the space. Chloe, emotional and a bit overwhelmed, smiled shyly, grateful for the recognition and her mother's public display of love. After Amelia's heartfelt speech, Lily felt a whirlwind of conflicting emotions and approached her sister. Chloe, I am sorry for everything. I was wrong, so wrong. You didn't deserve any of that, she said, her voice trembling, indicating her sincerity. Chloe, surprised by the approach and vulnerability of Lily, took a moment to process the words. Lily, I appreciate your apology. It means a lot to me, Chloe responded, her reply cautious but open. The guests observed the silent exchange between the two sisters, feeling the tension gradually dissipate. Amelia, watching closely, felt a mix of relief and hope, seeing her daughters begin to build bridges where there had once been only walls. Lily and Chloe continued talking after the apology. Although they knew rebuilding their relationship would take time, the first step taken by Lily that night opened a path to a future of understanding and perhaps, in time, friendship. They agreed to meet again, starting slowly, sharing more about their lives and rebuilding the lost trust. The family's story, though marked by mistakes and regrets, closed the night on a note of optimism. Amelia, Chloe, and Lily found within themselves the strength to face the past and the courage to shape a different future. The party not only celebrated achievements and resilience, but also marked the beginning of a new chapter for all, full of possibilities for growth, forgiveness, and above all, reinforced family unity. If you enjoyed this story, we invite you to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support motivates us to keep bringing you touching stories almost every day. Don't miss the next surprising narrative that's about to appear on your screen. We sincerely appreciate having you here with us. Now, you can click on the links appearing on the screen right now. We have a special selection just for you, full of valuable stories and guaranteed entertainment. See you there.